Welcome to the Awarenezzz podcast. In today's episode, we had the chance to speak with Roberto Vavassori. Roberto is a strength and conditioning coach for the French Tennis Federation, where he works with guys all the way from juniors up to the top 100 in the world in the ATP ranking. The main topic about this podcast was the amount of fluctuations and the amount of variation that goes inside the planning of a tennis season, especially from a strength and conditioning standpoint. Just think about it. In a sport like basketball, you know how many games you're going to play in the season, right? In a sport like football, you know how many games you're going to play in the season, football or soccer, both of them actually. In a sport like baseball, you know how many games you're going to play in the season, right? So you can plan ahead for it. Now in a sport like tennis, you go to a tournament, you don't know if you're going to play only one game or if you're going to play the whole week, right? So if you only play one game, you might go to another tournament. Now if you play another week, that tournament might be delayed for another week, right? So there's so many things, so many unknowns. You don't know when the game is going to end, and you don't know when the game is going to start a lot of the times, because what if there's a game before and that game goes a little bit longer, you know? So that also affects your warm-up. It's just so many things that go inside a tennis season and handling performance for a tennis player that is impossible to see in the match, in the TV, you know? And this is why this podcast is so valuable, for you to get literally inside of what goes on tennis performance. So if you're somebody interested just in knowing how every sport handles their performance, handles their day-to-day operations, this episode is definitely for you. And if you're a tennis player that just wants to get better and wants to know in what way to train depending on the moment of the season that you're at, this episode is definitely a must-watch, because we went into all the details on how Roberto plans a training plan for an athlete.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 33rd episode of the Awarenezzz podcast. Today we are here with our guest, Roberto Vavassori. Thank you very much for being with us, and introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. So yes, my name is Roberto Vavassori. I'm Italian. I grew up in Spain. All my education has been through the Spanish system. I was a tennis player when I growing up. I started playing pro level tournaments, but around the age of 18, I had to take a decision: either continue through to the tennis career or just switch to university. So in Spain it's pretty different as is in the US. The sports system is not the same. It's not as well supported. So I decided to go that route of the education. I studied sports science at the University of Granada in the south of Spain, and I continued playing sports there, but it's not the same high level, let's say. So I did my bachelor's degree there. Back in the day, it was 5 years. It's changed now. It's 4. So I did an extra year, which after a few years, the government allowed us to have a master's degree because we did that extra year. So we have a master's. I have a master's degree in strength conditioning, and before that, I also did a master's in injury prevention and return to play. Which is something I was really interested, just to cover the gray area between the physios and the strength conditioning coaches. I thought there was a lacking of connection there, so I always was interested in that part. And then, of course, I started working, and like many years later, I decided to take the PhD, which I finished last year. So I did from 2019 to last year, and my thesis was on training monitoring and response monitoring in athletes, and more like my career, I've been a lot involved in tennis, from academies to the British Federation. I went to China with the Chinese Olympic Committee to work with different sports. I was in speed skating and rowing, preparing the Winter Olympics 2018 and the Summer Olympics 2020. And then I transferred again into tennis on the pro circuit for 8 years. And my current role is I'm a strength conditioning coach for tennis players for the French Tennis Federation, which I'm starting my 3rd year. And that's pretty much it.
Definitely. And I mean, I was going to ask you a little bit about you and what got you into sports performance world, but you gave a great overview. And just to kind of like touch back on that point that you mentioned, that you wanted to bridge that gap between the physiotherapist and the injury prevention, but then the strength and conditioning, because there was kind of like a disconnection
Mhm.
in there. And I just
Yeah,
think it's super important because we actually got the chance to speak earlier this week with a physiotherapist as well. And he was
yeah,
saying the same thing, that a lot of people see that as a separate thing, but they should actually go together. You should do
yeah,
your strength and conditioning with, of course, the idea of mind that you don't want that player to get injured, and that injury prevention isn't being in a bed just doing massage, but then it actually comes from movement.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
I really resonate with that thing that you just mentioned, and just top of mind because we literally talked about that earlier this week. And
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned how you're currently with the French Federation. So tell us a little bit about that job. What are you currently doing? What's your current role in that?
So we are here, I think 6 or 7 strength conditioning coaches for the whole federation.
Hmm.
We have the men's side and the women's side.
Yeah,
Sometimes we cover either one of those, but we can have mixed projects. So I'm in charge of different players. Since I started, of course, they've been changing a lot because there's a lot of people coming in and people coming out. But
hmm.
I'm mostly with their kind of pro players.
Okay.
Um, so I have from top 100 players down to juniors, which are not juniors playing juniors, are juniors that are starting to play pro tournaments.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we have some juniors that are already maybe 16 years old, but already 800 in the world. So that's pretty good high level. So I'm in charge of 2 3 players at the moment that are in that kind of range. So from pro to starting to be pro. So it's a good mix because you kind of cover the whole road to pro.
Yeah.
And it's good because they see that you are with high level players, but at the same time you helping others to arrive there. And basically, I'm either here at base or traveling the world wherever is needed because tennis
Yeah.
players are most of the years on tournament. So it could be that I go to either Spain, France, Germany, or Australia, USA, anywhere.
Yeah.
So anywhere I'm needed, I just pack my bags and ready to go. And if it's base or training weeks, could be somewhere else, but mostly it's Paris.
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, you cover mostly that strength and conditioning part, right? Or is there anything outside of it that you also take care of?
No, mostly the strength conditioning of the players. Of course, if they're injured, again, is that communication with the medical team. We
Yeah.
here we have anything we need. So we have doctors, physios, and everything. So that connection with the medical for us is really important. And also from my background in the masters that I said, I think
Yeah.
that is not to me. It's not that the physio finish the works and is there you go, and then the strength conditioning finish it up. And to me, at the beginning of an injury, there's a lot of physiotherapy, a little bit of strength conditioning, and then it starts switching like this, and it's the other way around.
I
But we
see.
are in constant connection. I think at the end, to me, is multidisciplinary work. So of course, when one of my players injured, we have to kind of step into that rehab or return to play. Or I see some jobs at the Premier League, which is a rehab coach. So I kind of do that when it's needed. But I'm not the rehab coach for everybody. Just if one of my player gets injured, of course I will do that part. So maybe my role is strength conditioning and return to play specialist or rehab coach, as you want
Definitely.
to.
And I
I
mean,
want
it comes back to that point of like always keeping alignment between those two areas. So even though they might be at some point injured, you still provide your input, and especially knowing your background that you have a lot of contents on it. Are you gonna
Yeah.
say anything, Matze? Sorry, I
yeah, I
interrupted you.
wanted to ask how do players get picked? Like the French Association picks them, like based on their potential or the potential they see in them.
Yeah. So they start pretty early because so we have a national tennis center in Paris, but then every region, or for Americans, every state
Mhm.
will have a regional center, let's call it. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So from there, there's the best player in that state, area, region, or how you want to call it. The best players then could come here, so they're always kind of monitored. And they also have another center which is for, let's say, under 18s or even earlier. So they have players from 12 years old up to 16, which is the step before coming here. So you go from the regional areas into that one, which is in one place, and they have everything there as well. They have their doctors, they have their physios, they have their strength conditioning coaches, their tennis coaches. And when they show a level, they might end up here. But when you get here, it could be also is a two ways road. You can get in, but if you don't get results and you're not reaching a benchmark, you can exit the system. Not exit the system, but you kind of downgrade into another center, and maybe you can even come back after years. So this happened a lot. It's not just science that you say, okay, if you're here, you're gonna get there. No, maybe your road is not always up. It could be a lot of ups and downs. So that's the way they're picked. So from young age, they starting to go into a better center, and from there, tack, 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 and they wrap up here.
Okay. And
Okay.
then just to get some clearance, so the players, they also stay like with you, like it's like an academy. They also do like their schoolwork, so they move away from home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yes, here, yeah, they have the school, which it is mostly online, and they can do it anytime they want. So we have to keep that in mind in our when we set up a week or we prepare a week. We have to keep in mind that they need to cover a minimum of hours of studying during the week. We
Mhm.
have to keep in mind that when they are in tournaments, normally is almost impossible to fit them in because you don't know what time you're going to be playing. It might rain, it might be a delay on the matches. So yeah, they have the school here, they sleep here, they eat here, they literally are it's kind of, yes, an academy or like a big university for them.
Yeah.
And the other centers, no, they go home and they go forth and back. They go school normally, but when they get around 12, 13, if they are very good, they start to get into a system where they do online schooling, and there's a lot of training and etc. So yeah.
I see, and I see how it might be different from a sport like football, like us, because tennis being also an individual sport, then this like the country kind of provides those resources because it's one on one, is with the individual player. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's pretty like it's a huge experience, especially for a guy, because you have somebody taking care, like you have an entity taking care of your whole development. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
how that can like grow you as a player. And now you mentioned a little bit that you work, of course, with the younger guys, but then you also work with professionals. And I think there's a lot of interesting things that we can talk about on how the approach changes with each person. But I kind of wanted to get into your philosophy and how do you manage, I don't know, tennis performance. So I just wanted to know if you can give us like a broad overview on what is your philosophy when it comes to managing a tennis player's performance? Like, what are the main things that you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want to create a good base with them. So you need, of course, a base of endurance, a base of strength, a base of movement, deceleration, change of direction, that kind of things. They need to know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of the strength conditioning, it might not change a lot from other sports because again, we need to be strong, we need to be powerful, we need to be able to break, you need to be able to reaccelerate. Of course, the sport has some specific things, which 70 to 80% of our movements are lateral. So maybe we wanna keep that in mind. So maybe sprinting in line forwards for 20 meters makes no sense because the court is not even 20. Well, it's 20 meters if you count the whole court, but to the
Yeah,
net
exactly.
you don't have 20. So it's really more into the acceleration part than in the top speed because you will not reach top speed. And of
Mhm.
course, there's a lot of frontal plane movements that we need to take care of, and hence that will kind of put the stress into the muscles that makes you do that. So of course, abductors suffer a lot. The hip area suffers a lot, and then we have to also add that is an overhead sport. So that relates a lot with the problems that a baseball pitcher might have. We have it again, shoulder problems and elbows. The wrist is always in the impact all the time, and so of course, we have to be careful of the areas in terms of the injury reduction and cover it to have them strong to do that. And also, there's a mix that they need to be able to endure, because we don't know how long a match is. Could be 1 hour and 30 minutes to 5 hours. Sometimes my pro players, there's tournaments that they play 3 sets, and in Grand Slams they play 5. So 5 sets is a long way. But also we have to think that is a sport that is points normally are 6, 7, 8 seconds on average, and then you have around 20, 25 seconds rest. So you kind of need the aerobic ability to hold for 5 hours, but also the capacity to repeat a lot of short efforts during that period of time.
Okay.
So my philosophy is based on, yes, you need to have the endurance to endure, but also the capacity of repeating things and repeating things with quality, because to me is the hardest sport there is. It's very technical. The ball comes at 200 kilometers per hour, and you have to hit it in a racket that is that, and hit it where you want to, and at a certain speed as well. So you want to be fresh to be able to do that, to be able to recover from every effort. And of course, you need to be strong and powerful, because it's an explosive sport. And if you don't have the strength to generate that power, of course you're done. So I think it's a mix of you need to be a well all around athlete.
Okay. Yeah, and I was actually just talking with Mads right before the call on how people don't really consider tennis as one of the most physically demanding sports there is. But if you look at it that way, you're constant, like, let's say for baseball, right? It has a similar duration, like some games might be 3 hours, something like that. But on baseball, you don't touch the ball, like you don't touch the ball in like 30 minutes, you know? In
Mm,
football, it's 90 minutes, that's kind of like the shortest a tennis match can be. And I don't know, if the ball is on the other side, you can chill and you can like unplug your mind a little bit. But in
yeah.
tennis, the ball is always coming at you, and it's gonna be that like that for either an hour and 30, or it's gonna be like that for around 5 hours. So
Mm,
I just feel I just think it's super demanding, and also what you mentioned, you're always working in those lateral movements, diagonal movements, and then these
mm,
short bursts of acceleration. So,
mhm.
and that kind of like what you just mentioned kind of answers the question that I was gonna ask you, Nets. Like, if you could just put it in a list, what are the main things, and also like if you can put it in hierarchy, so in from top to bottom of like the main things that you're looking to optimize for a tennis player, like let's say what takes the most of your training time, then what goes second, and then what goes next.
Yeah, so most of it, of course, is strength and explosive work, 100%. The endurance, you can kind of cover it with the tennis training or with on-court things. So you can kind of, with the coach, decide, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do these drills, and you don't have to always top it up outside. So
Mhm.
it kind of, during the year, if a player is kind of training and healthy, they
Mhm.
kind of can cover the endurance part with a
Mhm.
very specific with the nature of the training.
I
Of
see.
course, I do top up session here and there, because of course, if we find that the need of a player is either aerobic endurance or more like high intensity movements, so we can still top it up. But to me, yes, is be strong to reduce injuries, 100%, and
Mhm.
then keep the explosivity, because as soon as a player feels that it's lacking on that kind of fire of being quick, they suffer. And hence, with explosivity, we also make them faster. So we kind of I will stay into that strength power part, and then of course, if with some specific players, you might need some top up in endurance, but those two I would say.
I see. I see.
And I
And
wanted,
yeah, you can go, brother.
like, because you also mentioned, like, you never know, like, if it's going to take 3 hours or 5 hours. Like, how do you handle that kind of uncertainty? Like, you always prepare like for 5 set game, or how do you do it?
So, that's a nice question. So I'm gonna explain everything because probably a lot of people that will be listening, they don't know how it works. So tennis has something that most of the sports don't have. So people normally know about football, basketball. So in football, soccer, that you're gonna be playing Sunday and Sunday or Saturday and Saturday. And if you have a Champions League team, you might be playing Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, but pretty much when you're going to play, unless it's Champion Leagues. You depends, do I qualify, etc. But you will know when you
At
play.
least you have a group stage, and you know that you will play all the games on that
Yes.
group stage, right?
Yes, and if you have a team that is not playing like international tournaments, you know that you're going to play your league games. You might have cup games. Okay, but you pretty much
Yeah.
and you know that you're going to have minimum 3 days rest from one to another. In tennis, we don't have that. So in tennis, you play every day. There's some tournaments that you might have 1 day rest in between matches, but you never know. And also, you don't know what day you start because the tournament might start on Sunday and the first round could be Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. So, what we tend to do is I always plan for the first day, but then I might arrive to the Saturday, which is when we know if Sunday we play. Suddenly I see, okay, no, we don't play Sunday, so you adapt. But you always prepare for the first day, but then suddenly you might have extra days or not, or you might arrive and it's that day. Um, so that's one nature. The second is you might, on your program, you might think, okay, I'm going to play 3 tournaments in a row. That means 3 weeks. And on it could we have 2 or 3 scenarios there. You might play the first tournament, you arrive to the final, and you go directly into the next tournament. You get to the final directly. So you have 3 weeks where we don't do training because it's impossible. You will be traveling from one tournament to another, probably by plane, and will have one match every day. So you will focus on recovery, and you will do nothing on the physical except from activation for the warm up, the tennis warm up, and activation for the match. That's it. Or you can have scenario two. You lose first round and you have 6 days until the next tournament, and then you go to the second tournament. You lose first round, you have 6 days. There, we do have time to work, but it's really we don't know. So you take your chances when you have time, and you work. But also, it could happen that you spend 3 weeks where you cannot do it, which is great because if the player wins, it's good because of course they're making money, they're making points, they're increasing the rankings, and they will play more tournaments. And potentially in years when they are top 20, you will be able to decide where you play, so you can structure better. But at this, when they are lower than, I would say, 30, 40 in the world, it's a little bit, I go where I can. And sometimes you get into a tournament and you know that you got into that tournament maybe 2 days before, and suddenly it's like, okay, let's get a plane, let's go. And we had a training week planned, but that tournament is important, so we go. And
Yeah.
it's really adapting. And on top of that, our preseason is maximum 6 weeks, but on average is 4 or 5 weeks. And it's
Okay.
normally in December where
Yeah.
there are no tournaments. So there's not a lot of time to train, and we try to use the moment when we can. Of course, we tend to put training blocks in the year, but it varies a lot, and also depending on your ranking, etc. So it's very special and different, and we are adapting all the time. So to answer how we do it, so for me in tournaments, I have a structure plan, which I have game -1, -2, -3, until
Yeah.
-7. So if
Hmm.
I play, if I lose and I have 5 days, I do -5.
I
And
see.
minus five, I could do strength work because I still have 5 days. Now, if I keep winning, it's -1, which is helping recovery, maybe some core work, etc. If I have 3 days, let's see, I don't do a lot of volume, but I can fit in some kind of explosivity, power, strength, and stuff like that. So it's constantly adapting on the situation. So I have plan A, B, C, D just to be ready.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's like what I was talking also with Matt. Like for example, with soccer, you mentioned you said the example of, okay, if you play your league, then of course if you play any additional tournament, you're gonna be planning for that. But then, for example, if you look at basketball, you're gonna play 82 games per season. If you look at baseball, you're gonna play 162 games per season. If you look at football, American football, you're gonna play, I don't know, 17. I don't know how that is. So you have a set number. I don't think you will ever be able to do that with tennis, right? Because
No.
as you mentioned, and I mean, you mentioned that you plan your trainings on relation to that game, but I want to ask you, like, okay, when you're at the beginning of the tennis season, do you have any structure that you put in the moments of the season that you're going to be facing, or is there anything, what do you do before that season begins to kind of like outline how it's going to look like?
So we kind of use them as much as we can, because I told you sometimes it's 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, it's hard to build something, but we have to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Normally the first week the volume of tennis is way lower. Is a lot of focus on the physical. There are some players that even the first week they only do fitness. The first week back.
Is this the
Um,
off season that we're talking about, or as they're back or from the off season?
this is preseason. If off season, it doesn't exist,
No.
because
Okay.
they play until almost mid-November. They take 1 week off. 1 week. I'm saying 7 days. Sometimes 10 is 10 is already. So
Yeah.
that's their holidays. It's
Mhm.
7 weeks, and in those 7 weeks, we still send them something to do, especially
7 days, right? Seven.
huh?
It's 7 days, right? Not
7 days.
7 days.
Sorry, 7 days.
Okay. Okay. I
Yes,
was.
sorry. They have literally 7 days of holidays, and of
Yeah.
that seven, the first three, four is fully off. But then the last 2 or 3 days, we already send them something. Just move, maybe cycle a little bit, or go on the
Yeah.
bike or on a treadmill, or do something
Yeah.
active. Just to, when they come back, this such a short time. We don't want to start like from zero.
Hmm.
So, and then so their off season is 7 days, and in that 7 days, you want kind of given them as much rest as they can. They might go on a holiday somewhere special. Could be, I don't know, Dubai, the Maldives, or wherever. And um and then they come back, and we have 4 weeks. We have 4 weeks where we need to build whatever we think is was missing during last season, or whatever our goals are. So I told you, some players that maybe the first week, if they have kind of five, it could be only fitness, and
Mm,
then there's a less tennis, and then a lot of fitness, and then we switch the other way around.
I see.
And they will finish the last few weeks where there's, of course, there's fitness, but strength conditioning, but there's a lot of tennis, a lot of match play, a lot of points. And at the beginning will be maybe more on the technical and less specific. So we go from less specific to more specific in both.
I see.
So yes, preseason could look like more kind of maximum strength work, and then we transfer a little bit more into explosivity, power, and speed. And from the endurance, we start with more aerobic base and kind of aerobic efficiency or capacity, and we finish with more high intensity, more anaerobic and stuff like that. So we will go with longer time and distances on the bike to maybe finish with on the court.
I
So again, we go from less specific to more specific.
I see. So building
I,
that work capacity at the beginning, and then relating it to tennis as you approach the season more.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you, like, now, of course, regarding the season of this preseason is kind of like you preparing for the season, but do you get a like an overview of, okay, in July we want to be at this point, in August we want to be at this point, I don't know, in May we should be playing this tournament, so these are the things that we try to work on, or is it completely spontaneous as you get in the season?
Of course, you want to say, okay, maybe let's try by that month to have in physical aspects be there,
Mm-hmm.
and we will try to do it. Of course, I told you it's hard depending on the calendar.
Definitely.
And say rankings, yes, we normally establish, okay, let's try to be in this ranking by this month. uh, and we try to divide it. Maybe we say at the end of the next season we want to be, I don't know, 50 in the world. So to be 50 in the world, we have to be maybe 70 in this. But I mean, it's hard because
Yeah.
it depends on the results, your results and your opponent's results. And if you're injured, you have to stop, so you're not playing tournaments, you lose rankings, and you defending points from the year before. So how it works is let's say I play a tournament this week and it gives me 500 points. I got what 500 points. Next year, in this week, if I don't win the tournament that gave me 400 points and I only get 100, I will be losing 400 points. And 400 points will make me drop in the ranking. So
Yeah.
when you do a super great year, it's great because you go up like this, like fast. But then the next year you have to defend. So if you do the same results, you will stay. But as soon as you drop a little bit, you're gonna lose. So there's also a special thing about that, and it's very based on results. Like a basketball player, you get injured, you still get paid. Here, if you don't play, you don't earn money, and you lose points, and you lose rankings, and you drop, and then you have to go and play other tournaments.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course we set goals for rankings. We set goals. The tennis coaches set goals from aspects of, I don't know, like serve percentage or improving your forehand winners, could be something like that. And of course we do from our strength conditioning side. And of course we maybe say, okay, we need to improve this, and let's try to be there by then. But we're not very stressed because we know the nature of the sport doesn't allow you to kind of reach all the goals that you establish, because it's
Yeah.
very open.
No, definitely.
I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned like the 7 day break after the November, like the season in November. What specifically do you tell the athletes to do? Like, of course, hop on the bike. Just to anyone listening, maybe when they have a
Yeah.
1 week vacation.
So what we normally suggest is, if it's 7 days, we give 3 4 days where it's fully off.
Nothing.
Especially if normally they come to, they lose a tournament. As soon as they lose a tournament, they go on holidays. So let's say they have 7 days or 10 days. The first 3 4, the first half of the whatever they have is fully off, just recharge. And then we see what they have in place where they've gone. Because normally they tend to go on a holiday. They travel the world, but sometimes they cannot even see a city, or they cannot even enjoy a place. So let's go, they go into a resort somewhere, and they have access to a gym for sure. No, normally they do. So yes, we might send a 30 40 minute easy bike on every day. We might send some kind of lift workout, but it's like really basic low loads. So when they arrive, they don't restart from zero. We don't have,
Yeah.
we kind of not lose time doing kind of remembering sessions. So the
Mm-hmm.
body's ready to, the main idea is to have the body ready from the first day they come back. We can already do work, and we don't have to kind of start slowly. Of course, we will start with an easy session on the first few days here, but it's better than to start from kind of zero. I know in 7 days it's not going to be zero, but you will feel it. So that's the idea. So normally it's a workout kind of lifting, covering the main movements, lower upper body, like
Yeah.
super easy, not a lot of volume. It's kind of, I call it kind of anatomical adaptations. It's like
Mm-hmm.
really basic, but the body is adapted.
Yeah.
And in terms of the bike, it's just to have the body moving and keep that cardiovascular work. But yeah, it could be a really easy bike. 30 40 minutes could be, I say 3 to 4 RPE, kind of like that, to make
Yeah.
everybody understand.
No, definitely. And And as you were mentioning, as you were talking, I was just thinking about like the things that we see in other sports. Like for example, when you play football, right? You get
Mm.
injured, you still have 11 other guys that are playing for you, and that are gonna win you a tournament if they play good. But if you get injured in tennis, it's like you're done. You cannot do anything. Like there's nobody
No.
that's gonna play for you, right? So it's like
Mhm.
kind of like that also in mind that yeah, I might want ultimately I might want to recover. I might want to rest this day. I might want to
Yeah.
take a week off. But then I have these points that I have to defend from last season. So that's it's kind of like those two things, right?
Yeah, yeah. The calendar is brutal. Is you don't stop. Is a lot of planes, travel the world,
Mhm.
and change hotels, change beds, which maybe might affect your sleep.
Yeah,
You are different time zones. You have to adapt to those. The food in the tournaments normally is pretty good, but there's been few times that you get 10, 11 players, they got food poisoning. So it's that plus well the stress of playing and the heat normally is normally summer where we go,
yeah,
and it's the heat might be brutal as well. You can play at 30 35 degrees Celsius with a humidity of 60-70%.
yeah.
When we go, you think January is cold everywhere, you go to Australia and it's
Australia is summer
30
over there.
35 and yeah 60-70% humidity. Then you might go Indian Wells in March and it's super hot. You go Miami March as well and it's Miami, the weather as well, humidity. And then when you do summer, which is all over Europe, is hot normally everywhere.
Definitely,
So you
definitely.
have to keep in mind that, plus the fitness, plus the tennis, plus the media. Then they have other stuff to do that make them earn money as well, which is sponsors and they do
Yeah,
this the shooting and so it's a lot. And as you said, in the other sports, you have someone that replaces you, but here you are alone on the court. The coach might speak a little bit from the sides, but there's nobody that comes in for you when you're not playing very well. So it's super tough.
definitely. And Roberto, now I wanted to ask you, of course, you mentioned a little bit of how that training during the off season is and during the preseason is. I wanted to put you in some scenarios and for you to
Mm.
tell me how a training might look like for a tennis player, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're preparing for I don't know, let's go through those game day minus that you mentioned before. So
Mhm.
what do you do in a game day -7, for example? What are you looking for?
Um, I think to remember, it's easier to go from -1. So if you don't mind, I'll start from
Okay,
there. So,
you
so
get it.
normally day before a match, we focus on is a very short session. We do an activation. We cover the main injury areas. That if the player has been injured in some areas, we cover those.
Hmm.
But if not, we cover the main ones, which are the shoulder, the hip, the foot. Foot is really important as well because it's the last contact that we have on the court, and they move in all the time. A lot of footwork needed. And then if a player was injured, I don't know, let's say in the abs, they had a tear in the abs, we can cover that a little bit more. So it's activation that also has injury prevention or injury reduction. I
Okay.
prefer to say injury reduction because prevent is impossible.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and we do at the end of the warm up, we work on speed. Okay,
Okay.
to have fresh, it could be there could be some footwork and then explosive sprinting. Of course, we do a lot of sprinting to the sides because it's main movements, and that's it. So we don't tend to do that. After we do that, they go play tennis. Normally, the day before, the player wants to only play once. Could
Hmm.
be 1 hour, 1 hour and 30 minutes, and the day is over. The day is
Okay.
over.
Okay.
Okay. So on the -2, there could be some power work, which is
Hmm.
not very fatiguing. The volume is not very high, but we tend to go like really intense and give the maximum out of it. So it is a power explosiveness quickness session that is not too long but quite intense.
Yeah.
On the -3, we could work on strength, but again the volume is not really high, but the intensity could be high. And then I tend to refresh. So -4, I do similar to -2, but the volume is higher. So it's again power and stuff like
Oh,
that. but it's more like a session
Mm-hmm.
you would do in a training week,
Mm-hmm.
and the day before that against strength, but it could be higher. And in those days that are like -4, -5, 6, 7, I could also add kind of more endurance session if it's needed, if it's not covered on the tennis court. But
I see.
normally he would play in day -2, -3, and before they could play twice a day tennis. So
Oh.
it could be 1 hour and 30 minutes in the morning, 1 hour afternoon, or 1 hour and 30, 1 hour and 32 and 1. Even and the further away you go from the competition, it could go even for 2 and 2. So again, the endurance could be covered. If I feel that sometimes the coach might say, "Hey, I feel is struggling," or the player might come to you and said, "Oh, I feel tired in this moment." We can decide, okay, does he need more kind of high intensity endurance? We go that way. When he needs more aerobic, we go the other way, and we put it kind of there. But my structure is like that.
Okay, so that game day -1, you're kind of like priming the system. You just want to do things that are specific for the whatever injury they might be prone to, but
Yeah,
then activating that body and giving them like this that speed, so that
yeah,
nervous system is kind of like
hmm,
activated for the game.
yeah.
Then from then on, you just do power strength, power strength, power strength. But of course, the farther away that you get from the game,
Yeah,
you go heavier. Yeah.
yes. So the contraction might change.
Uh-huh.
On the -3 could be maybe I go isometric, or
Mm.
I go kind of on the strength speeds part
Uh,
of the curve, and
uh-huh.
the further away I go, I might go more maximal strength. So the
Max.
the
Okay.
idea the idea is to work on that's the global idea. So I have power strength, but then what I do in my change, the contraction might change. Of course, in a -3, I wouldn't do eccentric work
Uh-huh.
because there's no time to recover from a heavy eccentric work.
I see. I
But if
see.
I go back to the -6 or 7, yes, because there's time to recover.
Okay.
Uh, and so I tend to look at the fatigue, because we know that maybe from a strength session you need kind of 48 hours to recover.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So if the day
Yeah.
after I do kind of a power session that is not super intense, they will be fine. But we have to keep in mind all the physiology of the recovery. So yeah, the topic could be power strength, but what I do and the exercise I do, they might change
Okay.
on
So
the
the
low
over
and the
the
lows, of course.
okay. Okay. So the overall goal stays the same, but then the specifics on how you wanna achieve it change depending on how far away you're from the game. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so the closer we get, also the more specific we go. When I say more specific, I'm not saying that I'm going to do kind of a movement that he does on court
Yeah.
outside the court with a loaded. No, no, no. So the power session that we have on -2 compared to what we have on -6, for example, is probably -2 will be more closer to a speed movement. So it's less loaded than what I would do on a -6, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay. Yeah. 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 More
So it's
closer.
faster.
Okay. I see.
It's more priming. It's more having them ready and less fatiguing to me as well.
Okay. Yeah. More closer to the intensity level that they're gonna have in the game, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Do you
No.
do you, do you also look? Let's say you have like a tournament which your athlete goes into as a favorite. Do you have like a heavier training week than like maybe a tournament where he would be like it's going to be harder for him to win?
Hmm.
Sorry, say that again.
So let's say you have your athlete is like the favorite going into the tournament. Would
Yeah.
you have a heavier training week, considering like it would not be as hard for him to win than going into the tournament where it's higher competition?
I would say that's impossible because we know who they play one day before competition. So we don't know if it's going to be easy or not.
Yeah.
And easy is I mean, I know the people who listen to this, they would compare it to the sports they know. So maybe let's say we compare like, oh, is Real Madrid playing against I don't know, Rayo Vallecano? and they say, "Oh, it's an easy match." I know in football they tend to do that. When they play someone who in theory is weaker, they might kind of squeeze a little bit more in the week because we're superior. That doesn't happen in tennis. There's so many times where you have top 10 players losing to the 200 in the world. So there's no easy match. You cannot, I would say, you cannot afford to say, "Oh, it's easy," you
I
know,
see. Yeah.
and go like that. I give you one situation where we did something a little bit special. So there's this tournament that is played. It used to be played in November, kind of end of November, beginning of December. Now they change it, which is much better. But when we played it, it's for under 20 years old players. So they get the best under 20 years old player in the world, and they play kind of a masters tournament with these young players. In this tournament, being in the first or second week of December, it was right in the middle of preseason. And that say how we do it, because again, we have such a short time, and you put this tournament in. But economically, it was huge. It was
Yeah.
played in Saudi Arabia, so you could imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Also, from there were no points, but economically was a lot, and also it's prestigious because most of the winners of that tournament, they end up being almost top one players. So you
Yeah.
had the Yannick Sinner, he won it. Uh, Carlos Alcaraz, he won it, and then you have many top 10 players that
I
went
see.
through it. So he said, "Okay, what we do?" So we did a normal training week. So in the morning, he would be lifting, he would be doing strength, he would be doing power, he would be doing endurance. And then the tennis session that he would have would be the match.
The match.
Yes. So there were a few matches that he would arrive fatigued, but we sat down with the player and said, "Hey, this may happen. You have to agree with it. If you don't agree, of course, we do something different." But he was on board. He said, "Yeah, yeah, I understand how important it is." So it's a it's a preseason in a tournament, but we had no other choice. Now the tournament has been moved to the last week of December, so it's easy because you do everything before, and that tournament is the preparation for the season.
I
So
see.
now it's better. But no, we don't. We again, we cannot afford to say, "Oh, it's an easy tournament, it's an easy match."
I
First
see.
of all, because yeah, we might know who's in the tournament, but you don't know who you're gonna play, and and so no, we cannot do it.
And what did you do that time with that player because you had some specific things you needed to work on, or what did you implement at that like training session in that tournament?
No, so it was kind of, so that tournament is also special because you have a round robin. So you knew that he would play three matches minimum,
Oh, okay.
minimum three matches. So you knew that in 3 days he would play 3 days. So it's not
Oh,
like he may lose first round and it's over. So you know that 3 days will be covered, and then if he qualified, he would have semifinals and finals. So a maximum of 5 matches in around 6 7 days.
okay.
So we just kept the idea that we had in the for that week of a normal preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he landed on the second or third week out of 5. So we already created the base that we wanted in kind of aerobic strength, etc. So we were kind of transferring into, okay, we keep strength level, but we start to be explosive and fast on court. But
Yeah,
yeah, he had some sessions where they were tough. They were demanding,
I see.
and he
I
would
see.
go and he would go on court fatigued, but there was no other choice, and he would do maybe some high intensity training in the morning, and then jumping on the court, not knowing how long it would be.
Definitely, definitely.
But look, it went well. I think if I'm not wrong, he got semifinals, so he won he went through the round robin and got to the
Yeah.
semifinals.
Okay.
So not too bad at all.
Definitely.
It looked like it didn't affect him, but I think the key point was that he was on board saying, "Okay, I don't mind if I lose. I will not complain about I didn't win because I was fatigued, because we were
Yeah.
looking kind of long term. We were looking
I
at
see.
at January, and this was a step that it was necessary because in his situation I would have done the same.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that would cover his expenses for the whole year almost.
Yeah.
So of course we go, but with this special, and it was funny because he actually suggested lately to do that again, and he
Oh, really?
mentioned, remember what we did there? Do you think, guys, we can do it on here? And we had the option of decide we do training week, we go to competition while training, or we compete only. But the team, we decided, no, look, if you're gonna train, you train, and no rush to go. But he mentioned it kind of, hey, that time I'm not gonna say he liked it, but he said, okay, I'm on board with it. So yeah.
Yeah, and it was also like him being aware of the benefit that it will bring to him in the longer term, which is
Yeah.
kind of like you mentioned, that was the most important part. Perfect, Roberto. And I mean, just to kind of finish this part off, I wanted to ask you, I know you mentioned about this power and then strength sessions. Just wanted to ask you, because I mean, I'm very interested, and then also a tennis player that might be watching this will be interested of how would a just a sample session for power for you look like? Like what exercises would you do and in what range? Let's say you are 4 days away from the game, something like that.
Mhm. So okay, I normally that kind of session will cover lower and upper body for me.
Okay,
I
okay.
I normally don't not like to separate because I
Hmm.
think we can do upper and lower body at the same time.
Hmm.
So maybe I would go with a block of 4 exercises where two are upper body, two are lower, and I will switch them. So lower body, lower body, upper body, and you can do kind of a circuit. So you start on the first one. I normally go with the one that you move the fastest. So because your nervous system at the beginning of the session will be fresh, so
Oh,
I would go is either a body weight movement or a lightly loaded movement, but where it's like really explosive. So if we measure their let's say the speed would be quite fast.
I
It would
see.
in the curve will be close to maximum velocity. So
Okay.
probably could be like a loaded jump where is only maybe with 20 kilos
Mhm.
or 10. Could be a side loaded jump, especially because again we do a lot. So could be the frontal plane, sagittal plane. Then would be an exercise for the upper body, which is focusing kind of on pulling. So I
Mm-hmm.
can add a medicine ball slam, for example. And after that, we will have another lower body that if I did a sagittal plane exercise in the first one, I will go with a frontal plane. So again, could be seated jump on the first one, and then kind of with an elastic to the side, will be do kind of side pushes to the right and to the left
Okay.
with
Okay.
elastic tension. Could be quite a lot of tension.
Yeah,
And then another one which you will be pushing. So maybe I have the player lying on the floor throwing a medicine ball.
I see.
So
See.
the first block, it covers more like the really fast movements. And I want to do that at the beginning because your nervous system is fresh. Reps 6 could be like that. And then I might add a second block, which is a little bit heavier,
Yeah.
where I'm more in the power zone. So the beginning was
Like
the first
speed.
one was more speed strength, and now I'm in the power strength.
I
And
see.
then there I will load it a little bit more. But again, the idea in my head is maybe I will have an exercise that is more vertical and one that is more horizontal and probably on the frontal plane.
I see. I see.
And for the upper body, and now I change into maybe a little bit assisted pull up, which I put an
Mm-hmm.
elastic, but they go really explosive, or maybe like a really explosive TRX row or kind of like that, but it's heavier. So you moving a little bit slower than in the first block.
Yeah,
And for their push, it could be a kind of a Smith machine throw or stuff like that.
I
And
see.
with those two blocks, I'm covered. Then I tend to vary a lot. So normally I like to have one block that is maybe more vertical, and then one is more horizontal. If I approach a little bit more the tournament, I will go into having the horizontal be with movements. So maybe sprinting forward with elastic, sprinting side with elastic diagonal, or
Okay.
stuff like that. But yeah, I tend to stay in that range of 6 reps. So it's not like getting fatigue, because again we want to be explosive, and also
Mm.
we want to be ready for the next rep, or sorry, next set to be fresh.
Okay.
Sets range could be 2 to 4 sets on each block.
Yeah.
It really depends on the moment.
Okay. Okay. So you have those two blocks in which the first one you make sure you wanna cover that speed part more. You wanna make sure that it's like more like faster movements, right? Because the
Mhm.
nervous system is more fresh, and then
Yeah.
you go ahead into movements that aren't necessarily as speed, but are more in that power
Mhm.
kind of zone. Yeah.
That's
Per-
that's that's how I do it. That's then sometimes we might use contrast, but I
I see.
really I really like the idea of the fastest thing you do, where your nervous system is really needed at the beginning.
I see.
The
I see.
beginning of the session, that's the first thing I do, because if then you switch it after, you're already fatigued, and at the end you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Definitely. Definitely. No, I think that's great, Roberto. And just to kind of finish this whole part of before we go to the rapid fire questions, I wanted to ask you because like we've mentioned how stressful and how intense a game day is for a tennis player.
Mhm.
So, in your opinion, how does a perfect game day look like for you? Like, let's say it's a night game. What's the perfect game day for you?
The perfect game day is when you play the first match either in the day session or in the evening session. Why?
Okay.
Because you know when you're gonna play.
Yeah.
Okay. So in tennis, how it is, this is another because I mean I could talk about tennis to explain the nature of it.
Yeah.
So in tournaments, if you play the first match, could be let's go day session or night session. You have the first match, you're gonna start at 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, unless it's raining.
Yeah.
So if it's raining, you have to wait. You might wait hours. You might wait one day.
Yeah.
But there's many tournaments that are indoors or have indoor courts.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go that is sunny or is indoors, and you 10 o'clock you're there. So that's perfect, because you know when you're gonna warm up tennis, you know when you want to warm up physically, and you know that you're gonna play at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's not.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the first match, you might have the third match, and let's say third could be fourth. Okay, so third match, maybe they say, okay, is the third match after 10. So you have 2 matches before you, and those matches could be 1 hour each or could be 4 hours each, and you have to wait. Wait meaning that yes, you will do a tennis warm up more or less when you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the physical will be waiting and looking at results. So normally, when let's say one player is winning one set and is 2-all, 3-all, we start moving. But it might happen that the player that won the first set, they're about to win the second. So you did the warm up, you're ready to go, and suddenly it turns around and the other player wins. So you stop and you have
Yeah.
to re-warm up. I was in Wimbledon, Wimbledon 2021, I think. I
Yeah.
had to do 5 match warm-ups.
Oh
Five.
my God.
Uh, First one stopped by rain. Second, the match turned around. Third, rain again. Fourth, rain again, and then the one that it was to play. So it had to do 5. So if you think, well, how you do it? Every time is shorter. Of course, I will not redo. There's sometimes let's it's like, okay, let's wait, jump on the bike and keep your body going, and let's see what happens. And suddenly the other player wins, the opposite player wins. And it's like, okay, let's go. And then it's also difficult because the player is not resting. For the
Mhm.
nutrition is complicated, because when I'm gonna eat, should I eat? Should I not? Should
Yeah.
I? And so even the warm up, my warm up, if I have a first match, my match warm up is 15 minutes. Is I think it's actually 12.
Okay.
But when I know that is the first match, is easy. I start 15 minutes before, I'm ready to go. But when not, I kind of use the time in favor, because it might have to be shorter because the match goes fast, or it has to be longer because the match is slowing down. So you have
See.
to kind of play with it to be right on point.
I
And
see.
that's another thing that is so perfect match day is weather is perfect or is indoors, and we have the first match. The first match, or there's also a special thing that sometimes they put first match at 10, second, third, and the fourth say not before 15. So you know that you're not going to play before 15 hours.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that you're going to play at 15. You might play at 17, but you know that it's not going to be before, because there's sometimes that there's a player that get injured and suddenly the match is 30 minutes only and goes fast. So
Yeah.
you have to be like really prepared. So a match day is same as the season. You are always adapting and ready and checking scores and watching matches. Most of the times we have TVs where you can actually be watching the match while you're warming up to either speed up or not. But this, so perfect day, first match in day or night session.
Definitely. I think that the tennis is the perfect definition of planning for their own plans, like always being prepared regardless of what.
Always,
And
always.
it's just so I've always wanted to have this type of conversation with somebody inside the sport of tennis, because I really enjoy watching it and I just really admire also everything that goes into it. But I never really got the chance to speak to somebody inside of the performance part of it. And
Mhm.
I just got so many insights from you. It just gives me such a different perspective than what I used to
Yeah,
have before. And I can really tell and I can really admire that work that you do of always constantly adjusting,
yeah,
and with the limited resources of knowledge, of time, of just any plan at all, like still be
mm,
able to adjust and making sure that the other guy is in the most optimal condition possible. So I really enjoy this one. It's
yeah.
super interesting to get into the
I mean,
depth of all of this.
yeah, as a funny story, I know a lot of strength conditioning coaches, they don't want to work in tennis. They when they say, "Oh, there's this job, where? What sport? Tennis?" No, because it's so unpredictable and is. I mean, I love it because I played.
Yeah,
I still play a lot when I can. I still hit the ball, and I really enjoy it. And I think is a beautiful sport,
yeah,
and I have that kind of connection with it. But
yeah,
I know a lot of fitness coaches, they cannot stand it because it's um, there's a lot of things that are not in our control.
definitely.
Of course, there are in basketball, baseball, any sport, but in this one it's just different. And when you
Like,
tell the stories to people, they like, oh wow. And every time I've been to other podcasts as well, and I have to kind of explain this because I know a lot of people listening, they don't know it, they don't know
definitely.
it. I mean, I also know people in Europe, they don't know that the season of baseball is 160 plus games, uh, and everything is in 6 months, so it's not even like a full year. So it's kind of is to explain, and then when you explain it, people start thinking, oh my god, it's really complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but definitely, man. I truly, truly enjoyed it, man. Is there anything you want to say, Matsu?
No, I wanted to ask, because you mentioned like the 12-minute warm up. I think a lot of guys like overcomplicated warm up. So maybe you can just run us through really quick how the warm up of you looks like, the 12-minute one.
Yeah, sure. So we start moving. I normally make them run forth and backs, shuffle, run and crossovers, because that's what we do. So it's pretty much like that. We going to you probably have seen it. The coach has tennis balls in the hands and you can throw side to side, so they have to catch. So we're already kind of working their hand-eye coordination and moving a little bit. From there, I step into elastics, especially to warm up the shoulder. There's a lot
Hmm.
of traction, opening, external rotation, because our sport is really internal rotation. So there's external rotation. We might do some shadows. Shadows is kind of make the movement, but with elastics. Most of the play, then of course every player has some. In general, I go like this, but then, for example, I have a player who's very prone to elbows and wrist issues, so it will warm up more the elbow and wrist. From there, we will go again moving a little bit with either the tennis balls, or if I have a medicine ball, they will start kind of doing tennis movements and serve and serves motion and forehands and backhands and moving around, but with more with the medicine ball.
Hmm.
And from there, I go into more like dynamic stretching and mobility. We could go into kind of lunges and quad stretch into back lunge, side lunges, etc.
Yeah.
And then we step into more like reaction. where I will be holding like two tennis balls. You drop one, they want to catch.
Yeah, I see.
Maybe I will be holding two, and they catch. They catch with the cross in the hand. I might have balls that are different colors, so they know that if it's yellow, it's same hand. If it's orange, it's the cross. This depends on the players because they like it more or less. And then we will finish with some sprinting, kind of
Okay.
to be ready. Again, a little bit one, maybe I do one forwards and then two to the sides. And with some players, then at the end I give them 2 minutes. I say 2 minutes of what you want,
I see.
because I know they have their traditions. They might like to make like they're playing. They might like to grab the rackets and do it. Some of them is like, no, 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 I'm fine. But I always say to them, okay, after the 2 minutes, make sure you finish with something that is fast and explosive. And then it really varies with depending on the player. There's some, they have some preferences. Some of them they prefer more on the catching and reaction and
Yeah.
explosive stuff. Others prefer more into to be in their zone and imagine they're playing. But the base I start is that one, and then I tweak here and there depending on what player I'm with.
For the specific player. Okay.
Mhm.
No, amazing, man. Amazing. As I told you, I really enjoyed this one. So many interesting things. And this last point that you mentioned, like just every guy that has their own thing. So just
Yeah.
adjusting to like their own specific, and tennis players are super like superstitious and they always doing
Yeah.
their things and everything.
I mean, the thing of giving 2 minutes to do what you want, I used to do it when I was with team sports as well. Because
Okay.
I know that even soccer, football, or
Yeah.
basketball, they have their thing that I don't know, maybe they've been doing since they were 12 years old and it works. So it's kind of a more it could be superstition, but I always used to do it.
Yeah.
I find some of them saying no, I don't need anything else, and some of them that they will go and do whatever. So I know that it will help. It will not harm them unless I see a guy that does something crazy, but never happens. So, but I always did it. Like you have 2 minutes of, go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, you give 2 minutes to a guy and then he starts squatting super heavy.
Or a backflip. Who knows?
So Roberto, let's go into those rapid fire questions, yeah?
Yeah,
Perfect. So what would be the most overrated exercise you would see tennis players do in your opinion?
overrated.
Yeah.
I mean, I see so much circus, like people like standing on Swiss balls and being on bosses, and I say, oh no, that kind of when I say circus, that kind of things, or those that just replicate what they do on court outside the court,
Mm,
just with an extra elastic and bands and stuff like that. I would say that to me, I know with my philosophy, it doesn't match.
I see. I see.
And just to flip it around, what's the most underrated exercise?
You know what? People in tennis, they don't work the strength. You
Mm,
don't see them a lot. I would say the Italians do it a lot. Here we do a lot. Argentinians work like extremely well. I'm generalizing. I'm saying there's so many players, but then you see others. They do nothing. They don't touch a weight, and I think that's, to me, it's key. It's fundamental. And
mm,
you will be amazed how many of them they don't keep their strength level high enough, and
nothing.
and you don't see them like I'm not saying you have to have a squat and let and deadlift, but just do it. And that's something that I speak a lot with other fitness coaches, and a lot of them are also surprised. So in tennis, I would say underrated is just any strength work you can do. To me,
I-
is key, but it's not everybody does it.
Okay, okay. And what's the one thing that you've seen that separates a top 10 player from a top 100 player, or just the best from from the more average ones?
It's the mental aspect.
Mm,
That's it. All of them, they play amazing tennis. I'm saying even down to 800, you see amazing players hitting the ball in a way that is no different than a top 10.
mm,
Physically, yes, you start to see from 200 up, physically, they are in good shape. Below that, it's harder because it's expensive to have a fitness coach with you all the time.
yeah,
Um, but yes, it's the mental part.
definitely.
And who's the most athletic player in your opinion?
The most athletic, I think, Gael Monfils is amazing physically.
Yeah.
Is the one I've seen is the most. I don't know how much genetics is into it and how much work, because I mean I know him personally when we're on tournament, but I have not seen him train a lot, but he's been like amazing, and he's still 39, I think, and playing. Next year is last year, but so he's gonna finish his career with 40, but he's super athletic.
Yeah, athletic freak. And Roberto, we talked a little bit about these long games. How, like, let's just say that a player just finished a 5 set game, long game. What should they do after that game? How should like what should be? How should their next 24 hours look like for
Well, I
them?
hope they shower. I hope they shower. No. So first of all, they tend to go on the bike. Sometimes it's just to. I mean, I don't feel it's like super needed, but
Hmm.
it's kind of a tradition that they've been having since growing up. A lot of coaches would say, "Yeah, let's go on the bike," and on the bike is more like it's a super slow cycle, and we talk really. If it's a win, of course, we go through things, and it's funny. There's the bike, and all the team is around.
Yeah,
And if it's a loss, of course, you dare to support them. So it's the first moment that they come out, and they are, of course, devastated, and you help them. So it's more kind of, I would say, a placebo effect.
I see. I see.
From there, I think the key part is the nutrition. So go finish the bike for 7 minutes, let's say 10 minutes, whatever is needed. Sometimes it's longer because we talk about the match.
Hmm.
Um, Go in the shower and directly eat, because if you play the next day, we want to replenish all the all the nutrients you need, especially carbohydrate, just to be ready for another go the following day. Then be as long as that one.
Yeah.
They might go, after eating, go for treatment.
Hmm.
Normally, the tournaments they have physios,
Hmm.
but some players travel with the private physios. So the treatment could be at the hotel or at the tournament.
Yeah.
Treatment could be, they might feel fine. They might need just a massage just to relax,
Hmm.
mobility to have the joints ready and mobile again. Or could be that they feel something and they need kind of a treatment, or they were already bringing something from before. I don't know, like pain in the abductor or in the quad, or what it could be anything. So
Yeah.
they will go for treatment. In between, probably those periods, there might be media,
Hmm.
so they'll have to speak at the for the tournaments, and maybe for their countries could be a newspaper,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
countries, a TV channel. So the further away, the better you go in tournaments and rounds. Sometimes you might have 6, 7, 8 interviews. You might say no, but you tend to be there, and that is kind of in between of the shower and eating. So sometimes we say, hey, to the TV or whoever is wants to interview, say, okay, you can do it, but we need to eat first.
Yeah.
They understand that and they come. They might be a doping test in there.
Mm.
So they have to do it. If they can be, great. If they cannot, you have the doping guy following you everywhere, waiting for you, the player, to be able to be.
Yeah.
So that's included there. You need to keep it in mind. And after that, probably you go back to the hotel.
Hmm.
If your match finish late at night, of course, you'll try to go to bed and sleep as soon as you can, and then give the extra morning a longer period before going for practice, because you either play the following day, or if it's your day off, you still practice.
Hmm.
And you will adapt depending on the time you're gonna play. If your
Hmm.
match was in the morning, it's a little bit easier because you still have kind of time to go hotel recovery, then have dinner, and that. But what you prime is nutrition, sleep, and hydration. That's key.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if they need something else, because again they've been hurt, and extra
Mhm.
treatment, etc. That's it. That's the main
I see.
idea. Is be ready in 24 hours or less
Definitely.
going to
Definitely.
play again.
Perfect.
And you just talked about nutrition after the match, but what do you think is the best nutrition between the sets in the match?
Between the sets,
Yeah.
So hydration is key, and especially I told you that the temperatures is high and the humidity is a lot, so they lose a lot of liquids, and cramps are very common.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping the salts in the body and to avoid those cramps. I had players where I've never seen them cramp, never, and I have others that they do. So we can have strategies from pickle juice and shots for not having cramps, etc. Most of the cramps, yes, the heat is one aspect, but I've seen some of them. You prepare well, you hydrate before you eat, you have your bananas just to keep your potassium high, and you have energy bars just to again have your glucose high, and don't lose a lot in kind of sugars, etc. But it's mental as well. There's maybe you playing home here, Roland Garros, in front of a French crowd, French players, and there's so many cramps that when the tournament is at home, because you have that kind of pressure. I'm playing, I'm home, the crowd will be with me, blah blah blah. But it's stressful. So a lot of those cramps appear sometimes so soon that you say it's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of prevention that we do in match. But of course sometimes it's because the level of endurance is not there, so we have to think weeks before and preparing training. But
Def-
in terms of the nutrition, yeah, they know that every 3 games you have a changeover.
yeah.
You can drink. They know that they must drink every time they sit down, and they need to eat something.
Okay.
It's better to be extra hydrated and extra have eaten more, and maybe the match is shorter than what you expected. Hey, no problem.
Yeah.
After they will go to the bathroom like 5 times, but okay. But we also, again, we don't know if we're going to play 1 set or three or 3 or 5,
Yeah.
and you have to be prepared for the worst case scenario, which is
I,
5. And so yes, it's the strategy is drinking. Of course, they have their isotonic drinks with extra stuff.
Mhm.
They will take cover of salts, potassium with the food, the bars, the energy bars. They have their special for them. Most of them, they have nutritionists that cover this, so they sort it really.
Perfect. And I saw you with the, is that the aura ring, right?
No, it's actually not. It's just a normal ring.
Okay. Okay. Because I was
Everybody,
gonna,
everybody asks me, but no. Next time I would say yes because it's kind of more expensive. But
yeah, right.
no,
It's,
no,
it sounds better. No, but
yeah, it's not. But no, it's just a
I was gonna
normal.
ask you because I know you're big into sports science. What's one metric that you wish you could track with your players?
So, and this is kind of my PhD went that way. So to
Mm.
me, people goes like a lot into technologies, the Whoop, the Aura Ring.
Yeah.
But guys, to be honest, so if we count today, they're not really reliable and valid. They really don't measure what they say they measure. There's some kind of this sleep quality or REM phase of sleep. They are not able to measure that. They kind of imply that okay, I'm measuring this.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of athletes use it. I think it's great because they have a feedback and they react to it. So if they say that they have not slept well, they kind of adapt.
Mm.
But from my PhD and some studies that we have done, you get the same effect from a wellness questionnaire.
Mm.
So when I say wellness questionnaire is you have it could be any items, but the one I use is 5 items. How you fatigues from 1 to 5. 5 is super fresh. 1 is almost dead. Sleep
Mhm.
quality. 1 is insomnia. 5 if I slept super well. Muscle soreness, mood, and stress. Those are the 5 items. And from a study that we did, it showed that by evaluating yourself with those questions, where you just have to give 5 answers, it takes 20 seconds. And when the athletes know which question is, they will go 4, 3, 3, 2, 4. So they know where they are. And
Mhm.
um, with that, they're already evaluating themselves. And if they gave to a sleep, I remember 5 is best, 1 is worse. They say they give you a 2, they will go like, oh, yes. Oh, if I know this because I'm answering this question. If not, so and they automatically are adapting to it and finding a solution. So the solution could be, okay, tonight I'm gonna try to go sleep earlier.
Mhm.
If they feel that they stressed, they think, wait, wow, I'm stressed. Why I'm stressed? So they are
If
thinking,
you think
and
about
yeah, and just by thinking about it, you're already kind of finding a solution. You try to say, hey, I'm stressed. Why I'm stressed? Oh yes, because this morning I received this email that, but you say, hey, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So and a lot of times when, especially with the stress and the mood are related to that kind of things.
Hmm.
Um, so what I'm trying to say is there's all these technologies, but um, what the science shows is, okay, you need different methods and also a mix of subjective and objective. But from a wellness questionnaire, you will get the readiness of the athletes in a subjective way. And from an RPE with a duration, which you have the session RPE, is super
Mhm,
simple. Is
mhm,
It costs zero. These two methods, it costs zero. So you
Hmm.
can already monitor them very well with these two. So you get the session was a 120 minutes and the RP was a 5.
Hmm.
You already have your training load, and from there you can have your day load, week load. You can get out strain, monotony. You can even do acute to chronic workload ratio. I know uh, it's not anymore that important, the Q2 chronic workload ratio. But with those two, and then you add a counter movement jump, which will give you the readiness objectively. You have subjective,
mhm.
objective, and the training load subjective, and then you add a GPS or a micro sensor, and you got it.
Yeah.
But with only wellness questionnaire RP, you find so anyone can start monitoring. So if you don't monitor your your athletes in terms of readiness and training load, is because you don't want to, because that is free. You just put in an Excel and it will do everything. And
Mm.
then if you want to go further, you can do Python, Py, or R, whatever. But it's super simple.
Yeah.
And then if you start having a little bit of money or support from somewhere else, you can add, of course, other stuff. But to me, again, wellness questionnaire, RP, GPS, and a counter movement jump that you don't even have to do it every day. You're fine. You're
Okay.
fine, and you don't need a watch, because also some of them measure good things, but not everything. Like a GPS is worth on the court. But if you do a gym session, the GPS is useless.
Yeah.
The RPE will work everywhere. I play chess, which is probably physically not super active, and I could give you an RPE, but with a GPS, it will tell me zero.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know? So and these devices are great. It's good that the athletes use it. So I recently had an athlete asking me like, should I buy it or not? And I explained this. I said, look, they're not magic. Of course, it will not harm you. So if you want to buy one, go ahead. But at that point, I said, what I really need you to buy is a heart monitor, because he lost his, and he's already like 2 weeks. I'm waiting on it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I really need. And he tell me like, yeah, but the thing, it gives me heart rate. I said, yes, but the heart rate I need is when you do the exercise. I need to be precise, and I need to be valid, and I need to be reliable. And those things at the moment to me are not is a good starting point, but I would not be like, oh, this is,
Yeah.
with this I have everything, because I think you would not.
I see. I see. And a lot of it comes, as you mentioned, from you being aware and you going through that drop process of, okay, in what position I'm at in this specific area, in sleep, in stress, and why am I like that? That gives you a starting point that makes you think. But then, as you mentioned, there are other options like the questionnaire and things like that that would also lead you to that thought process, and that would also lead to that, to for you to do something about it. That's at the end of the day
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
looking
yeah, yeah,
for.
exactly,
Perfect.
exactly.
And Roberto, what do you think is one of the most common injuries which is preventable? Or like, of course, you said like not 100% preventable, but can be reduced.
Preventable is we cannot prevent something that we don't know that's going to happen. That's first. That's why I said before is injury reduction. You mean in tennis what we can try to reduce? So the most injured part I told you is the shoulder, the hip, and the foot. So to me, those are the ones. Then of course, here and then you have ankle sprains that are more acute. The one I think we can reduce are the chronic injuries. So the one that comes from repetition of movements that we know they're going to happen, because as ankle sprain, yeah, we can try. Of course, we will work on when I say on the foot, we work. I say on the intrinsic muscles of the foot, but also it's the ankle. It's still all that. Those ones are tricky because they are acute. It happens in one moment because they tap on the line and they roll the ankle, or they try to slide, it didn't slide. But the chronic ones, which are in the shoulder, in the hip, those ones I think are the ones that we can reduce the occurrence of happen. So I would say yes, shoulder, hip.
I see. I see. So the ones that you can actually predict in some way that the likelihood of them happening can be higher. But of course,
Yeah.
as you mentioned, it's mainly reduction, not prevention at all. Right?
Yes, again, we cannot prevent something that we don't know if it's going to happen or not. If we knew, we would try. But this is something I always say: you can have the best injury reduction program in the world. Injuries will still happen. What we will try is to reduce the possibility that they appear. But again, we can do our amazing job. They will still happen, especially in high level sports, which is tremendous. The training volume, the competition volume, all the other things that are around that we've been talking to.
Yeah.
Those are factors that are difficult to mitigate. Let's say.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And Roberto, I think we've given like so many actionable things on what a tennis player can do, and actually any athlete can do to just increase their performance. But if you were to leave with one piece of advice for young athletes or just any athlete watching the podcast, which one would it be?
Well, I would say to keep it simple. Is keep it simple. Do the basic stuff really well, and you'll be fine. Don't get too attract to what people see on social media, because sometimes again what I see is what on the underrated or overrated question I said, all
Yeah,
the circus stuff. I know they will not understand. They will want to do it. I had athletes coming to me and saying, I want to do this. And I say, okay, I don't think it's the best, but it's not harm for you. But sometimes they come to me with stuff that I say
yeah,
is a no. And sometimes they come to me with something that is really interesting and it's something I believe in. And so I'm really happy with it.
yeah.
But again, the basic stuff, simple, and it will always work. You don't have to overdo.
Amazing, amazing. I think that's a great way to finish it off, and something super helpful that, as you mentioned, a lot of guys, a lot of people, including of course us, we fall into that trap as well of looking into stuff, and just because it looks good, it looks fancy, we might think is the
Yeah.
best thing. But as an athlete, you want to make sure that you're efficient with what you're doing, considering the limited time that you have to work on those different things. So
Mhm.
get like trying to master those fundamentals, do the basics that yield the most results. I think that's great, Roberto. And as I said before, I truly appreciate you being here, man, and taking the time for being in the podcast, and just looking forward to having another chat and perhaps having you here again, man. I really enjoyed this one.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it too. It went fast. It's 1 hour and a half already. But
I
I
was
mean,
looking into it. It's like, what?
when we're talking like three friends in a bar, it makes it faster and enjoyable. And of course, I mean, sometimes I talk too much, and I could keep going and explaining the tricky parts of tennis and the special things it has. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys for having me.
No, thank
Yes,
you.
Roberto, thank you very much. Also for me, like I really enjoyed it, and I think it's so interesting to get much more insight into the professional of tennis, not just for Camilo and me, but also like for everyone who's listening, and
Yeah.
also like all the chaos and the stuff you can't plan in tennis. I think it just speaks more for your expertise to handle these kind of situations.
Roberto, I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your experience, man. It's very kind of you.
Yeah, thank you guys.